The Clemson Tigers set to have their spring game this coming Saturday. What are we watching for? We've done a lot of these preview videos, essentially telling you what I'm watching in this spring football game. And the first thing that we're all watching, what does Cade Klubnik look like? I'll take it a step further. I want to take an extra close look at Cade Klubnik's process towards being the guy at Clemson. Yes, the guy, not the quarterback. Everybody and their mama knows Cade Klubnik is going to be the starter for Clemson when they open it up. He's your quarterback. Is he the guy? Because when your quarterback is the thermostat, not the thermometer, the thermostat, he sets the temperature for your team is exponentially better. So I already know that he's going to be physically enough to get it done. He's shown us that. He showed us that in the ACC championship. He flashed multiple times against Tennessee. He just had a lot on his plate that night. I want to see how he looks when you're going through, your no-huddle offense and a guy drops a pass. What's the body language like? Does he seem a little annoyed? Is he frustrated? Or is it, hey, let's go. We're good. Come on, we got to keep rolling. Setting the temperature for your offense. That's crucial for your quarterback. And especially in this offense, I'll go a step further. Being the steady hand in a fast-paced offense, enormously important. I've played in these no-huddle kind of offenses where things are swirling around. People are running on and off. You got personnel groupings. You're trying to get the call in. You got two different signalers. You have a dummy signaler. Like, there is a lot going on. Who is the steady hand? It better be your quarterback. You go as far as your quarterback allows you to go. In football, yes, but it gets accentuated in an up-tempo offense like they're going to run with Garrett Riley. Now, other thing we got to watch, how comfortable does he look in this offense with Garrett Riley? I think it's going to play to a lot of his strengths, but is he the one getting guys lined up? Is he executing when they get that safety out of position? Is he able to see the picture clearly? When he's got the RPO and that linebacker's doing something, he's got to read him and the picture's muddy. Does he make the right decision? We're not taking absolutes. I say this every single spring football video because I think it's so important. You're not winning the Heisman in spring football. # no spring Heismans. But Cade Klubnik has a chance, I think, to make a statement to the college football public that this is his team. He's the quarterback, but it's his team. And I'm excited to watch that. Now, the other thing I want to watch, how's that secondary look? The secondary that was really good at times, but also they were fairly inconsistent. And when you have a season like Clemson had last year, where they have games where they're hot and games where they're cold, it does something to your psyche. Like against Wake Forest, they allowed 337 yards. Now, they won the game, but that wasn't the standard of what they expect to get done at Clemson. They were dinged up at times. I get that, but I'm looking at just the production. What'd you do? Nothing to misinterpret there. Did you or did you not get it done? There were multiple games where Clemson did not get it done. South Carolina threw for 360 yards. Andrew Makuba, again, I know he was dinged up throughout the year. I'm excited to see him have a bounce-back year. Nate Wiggins, what's his progress like? I thought he really came on towards the end of the year. He was really good against North Carolina. What do they look like in terms of their approach to this thing? Like the note that I have down here is I want to see a more sure of themselves secondary at Clemson. That's swagger. Man, to play DB, any DB will tell you, you got to have the most confidence on the field. At least the most confidence on the defensive side of the ball. Because you know what happens? You get beat. It's inevitable. It's part of playing the position, and you got to respond. And your teammates will try to help pick you up. If you got a good coach, he'll try to help pick you up. But the reality is, you got to be sure of yourself. You got to know that, hey, that play happened, but I'm still that dude. Clemson, yeah, you let up 360 yards to South Carolina. Wasn't a good showing in the bowl game either against Tennessee, but we still got the juice. We still got guys in this room to get it done. Guys that are a little bit more experienced now than we were a season ago. Just looking sure of themselves in the spring game. Again, it's something that's hard to gauge just from watching the tape. It's not going to show up in the stat sheet, but I'm talking about balls in the air. It's you and Antonio Williams. It's Nate Wiggins and whoever else having the confidence and looking confident playing that ball in the air, looking confident playing through the hands. Knowing, hey, it's man on man. I'm good. I got this. Coach, leave me on the island. I'm fine with that. You can tell you kind of catch that swagger by these guys on the field. In the spring game, again, it's not a real game. It's practice 15, but it's a competitive setting, and competitive settings don't lie to you. That's the beautiful part about this. So them taking that next step as a secondary, that can make Clemson very, very dangerous. Because I think the offense will be very much so improved. I think they'll be more explosive. So if the secondary can up their play a little bit, look out. They're going to be more experienced. It will not be the deer in the headlights attitude that I think we saw from them at times a season ago. How sure of themselves do they look in the spring game? It'll be telling. Now, the other thing that we have talked about ad nauseum with Clemson, that wide receiver room. Y'all know that I am an Antonio Williams stan. I think he's about to have a huge year. Balled out a season ago. He's just a different genre of wide receiver than Clemson's had in the past. But that's exactly it. Antonio Williams is your explosive threat, but besides him, do we see another receiver step up that's kind of in that speedy mold? There's a lot of guys that are on this roster, in this receiver room, that are really good receivers. But they're all sort of that same style, if that makes sense. Like they're post players. Hey, it's one-on-one. Cade, put the ball above the rim, brother. I'm going to go snag it. I don't care. Jump ball, one-on-one, it's me every single time. Or at least you feel pretty good about it being them every single time. That's a very important part to have. That's a very important skill to have at wide receiver. Now the fact remains, if you only have one genre of guys, you only have the post players, the above the rim players, well, then we're limited a little bit. Because this Garrett Riley offense, it's going to use misdirection. It's going to use tempo. And there's going to be shots to be had downfield. Antonio Williams can stretch the field. Is there somebody else in this spring game that flashes a little bit? You watch it back on that Sunday, or maybe you watch it back during the week, you say, wait a second, this dude was moving. Who is that guy outside that made that corner just look silly, that just burned him on the outside? Hey, maybe he's a guy that we want to get in there a little bit more, coach. I would love for that to be the reality at Clemson. I would love for someone to step into another, fast receiver kind of role at Clemson. I think they probably have guys like that on their roster. Are they healthy? Remains to be seen. They got a couple of guys dinged up for this spring game, so we'll see how much we get to see of, all the weapons available at Clemson. But I'm just saying, if you have somebody else who can stretch the field for you, that makes Clemson that much more dangerous. Because then you got to pick your poison. If we have multiple guys that are fast in this receiver room at Clemson that you have to deal with, you can't just play over the top with them. You can't just try and give them depth, because underneath, they're going to hurt you too. Whereas I'm not worried about my big 6'5" receiver breaking off a long run. We'll live with it. We'll live with him catching a 6-yard hitch. We'll go with that. That's fine. We'll die a slow death if I'm a defensive coordinator. Curious to see how Clemson approaches this in the spring game. Curious to see the personnel that potentially pops on the scene in the spring game. Should be interesting. Because Clemson's in a very interesting predicament right now, the interesting spot. The bar is set extremely high at Clemson. College football playoff appearances, national title appearances, if not wins in both those categories, and you win the ACC, and that's just a given, right? Well, it wasn't always that way at Clemson, was it? Who set the bar that high? Because it wasn't the fans. Like, the fans have enjoyed the fact that Clemson's been so good, but Dabo Swinney set that bar so high because he's done it. Because he's done it. That's why the bar is set so high, because you've seen your team soar to those kind of heights. You've recruited at an elite level under Dabo Swinney. Now they're saying, hey, well, why aren't we doing that every year? This is the year where there is a little bit more pressure on Dabo Swinney and his process and on this team as a whole, because you brought in a Garrett Riley. You switched the quarterback. So there's high expectations. They welcome that. I promise you. They welcome that. That's how they wake up in the morning. Just enjoying the fact that there is high expectations and pressure and visibility on this Clemson team. How do they respond in this spring football game? How do they look in this spring football game? It's not absolutes. We're not going to tell you they're going to win X amount of games because they did a certain thing in the spring game. It's not how it goes, but you take a temperature for their operation and come away with a feeling of, put that in the back pocket when it comes to Clemson. When you talk about them again, think about that with Clemson. So I'm excited to watch this. Clemson's going to be a very interesting team to watch this year. I'm a big fan of Cade Klubnik, If the secondary can be more sure of themselves and be improved, they're going to be good. And if we see a little bit more explosivity from a skill set at receiver, they'll be more explosive offensively by nature of Garrett Riley. Do we see a more explosive skill set at wide receiver? Could be a difference maker. So we'll keep an eye on it in the spring game. And we'll come right back here and break it down. Appreciate y'all rocking with us. Subscribe if you have not already. Clemson Tiger fans, we've had a ton of y'all join us in the past couple of months. We thank you for that. If you haven't yet joined the party, now is the time. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram at JDPacal. We're going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.